Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to today's session. So today is the third part of your revision series for NPS Grade A and Grade B. So EduTap is bringing this revision series for you where you can revise the concepts of our economics, finance management, commerce accountancy, data analytics, stats and such. Okay, so this is a very important revision series that we have brought for you that is going to help you revise and practice the MCQs, and it will show you that what kind of questions can come in the examination. So I hope I'm clearly audible and visible. So let's start with today's session. So this is the part 3 for economics revision, and this is your last part for economics where I have brought some very important chapters and topics for you for revision. So let's start with the revision, but before that, do subscribe to the YouTube channel of EduTap so that you continue getting these relevant videos, and join our Telegram channel where you will get the PDF of the session, and the link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below. Okay. So let's get started with the first question. So the first question is in front of you that the LM curve is steep. The LM curve is steep. So here, this is the LM curve that shows the relationship between the rate of interest and level of income. And the LM curve shows the combination of rate of interest and level of income where the money market is in equilibrium. Now, if the LM curve is steep, this is because of the interest elasticity of demand for money is what, and the income elasticity of demand for money is what. So that you have to tell. So I hope you will be able to answer this question, and this is important. This is very important concept. This is very important topic. So LM curve is steep if the interest elasticity of demand for money. See, the LM curve is steep, so you can just cram this, that if the interest elasticity for demand for money, if the demand for money is interest elastic, is low interest elastic, and if the demand for money is highly income elastic, then the LM curve is steep. So LM curve is steep when the interest elasticity of demand for money is low and the income elasticity for demand for money is high. So remember this, that LM curve is flat when the demand for money is highly interest elastic and the demand for money is less income elastic. Okay, so LM curve is steep when the demand for money is less interest elastic and the demand for money is highly income elastic. So this is the answer, that is the demand for money should be less interest elastic and the demand for money should be highly income elastic. Then there is a steep LM curve. Okay, so A is the right answer here. Very good, Santosh. A is the right answer here. So steeper LM curve when there is large income elasticity and low interest elasticity. Flat LM curve is when there is small or low income elasticity and high interest elasticity. Okay, coming to the second question. So the question is asking you about the relationship of the demand for money with the level of income and the relationship between the demand for money and rate of interest. So I hope you know that the demand for money, there are three reasons that why you demand the money. There is transaction motive, there is speculative motive, and there is precautionary motive for demanding the money. Now speculative motive depends upon the interest rate, and transactionary and precautionary motive depends upon the level of income. So actually the demand for money depends upon level of income and rate of interest both. Now the demand for money is positively related to level of income. So there is a positive relationship, between the income and demand for money, while the demand for money is inversely related to the rate of interest. So there is inverse relationship between interest rate and demand for money, due to which the demand for money is downward sloping. With respect to rate of interest, because rate of interest and demand for money have inverse relationship. So the demand for money is downward sloping. Okay, so I hope this is clear that the demand for money depends upon level of income and rate of interest. The demand for money has inverse relationship with rate of interest, and that's why the demand for money is a downward sloping curve, and there is positive relationship with level of income and demand for money. Okay, so this is the idea. Yes, very good, Sarish, and very good, Santosh. The answer is C here, that inverse relationship, downward sloping curve, between the interest rate and the demand for money, and there is positive relationship between income and demand for money. So this is your demand for money, that is downward sloping with respect to interest rate. So demand for money is downward sloping with respect to interest rate, that is there is inverse relationship between demand for money and interest rate. Okay, and there is positive relationship, between demand for money and level of income. Coming to the next question, the question is regarding the ISLM model. So ISLM model means there is IS curve that shows the relationship between the rate of interest and level of income where the goods market is at equilibrium. The LM curve shows the relationship between rate of interest and level of income where the money market is at equilibrium. Okay, so this is the idea. We have the IS curve and we have the LM curve. Now the question is asking that which of the following causes the decrease in the level of income. So if there is increase in government spending, so I hope you know that if the government expenditure is increasing, or if the taxes are decreasing, or if the autonomous consumption is increasing, or if the autonomous investment, that is the investment that does not depend upon the interest rate or that does not depend upon the level of income, if it is increasing. So because of these factors, there is rightward shift in IS curve. So with the rightward shift in IS curve, the level of income will actually increase. So that means this is not correct, that if the government expenditure is increasing or taxes are decreasing or autonomous consumption is increasing, so that will lead to increase in the level of income. But we want to see the decrease in the level of income. So when there is decrease in the level of income, that means there is IS curve and there is LM curve. Let's say if the increase in money supply is happening, if the money supply is increasing, if there is increase in money supply, so LM curve shows the money market equilibrium. So if money supply is increasing, LM curve will shift rightwards. So again the level of income will increase. When the demand for money is increasing, LM curve will shift leftwards, and then you can see that the level of income is going to decrease. Okay, so it is because of increase in demand for money. Yes, C is the right answer here. Very good, everyone. So increase in demand for money. So remember that you need to have the clarity that what causes the shift in the IS curve, what causes the shift in the LM curve. The IS curve shifts because of autonomous consumption, autonomous investment, if they are increasing, or if the net exports are increasing, if the government expenditure is increasing. So this all causes, or there is fall in the taxes. So this all causes the rightward shift in the IS curve. While if the autonomous consumption is decreasing, if the autonomous investment is decreasing, if the autonomous net exports are decreasing, if the autonomous taxes are increasing, if the autonomous government expenditure is decreasing, autonomous taxes are increasing, this causes leftward shift in IS curve. Okay, what causes shift in demand for money? Sorry, LM curve. So if there is increase in demand for money because of external factors with the same level of income, the demand for money has increased, so that causes leftward shift in LM curve. Okay, so you need to have the clarity that what causes shift in IS curve and LM curve. LM curve is shifted with the money supply. With the increase in money supply, the LM curve shift rightward. With the increase in demand for money, LM curve shift leftward. So when the money demand is increasing, LM curve is shifting leftwards, and there is decrease in the level of income. So this is the idea that C was the right answer here. Okay, C was the right answer here. So the LM curve shift leftwards because of the increase in demand for money. So at the same level of income, if at the same level of income, the demand for money is increasing, so that causes leftward shift in LM curve. Or if the money supply is decreasing, if there is decrease in money supply, so that also causes leftward shift in LM curve. So increase in demand for money, decrease in money supply causes leftward shift in the LM curve. Decrease in demand for money, increase in money supply causes the rightward shift in LM curve, and this shift will happen when the demand for money is increasing or decreasing with the same level of income. Okay, so this is the idea. Now coming to the next question, if the demand for money does not depend upon the rate of interest. Usually the demand for money is inversely related to rate of interest. If rate of interest is increasing, the demand for money will fall. So there is inverse relationship between the rate of interest and demand for money. If the rate of interest is increasing, demand for money will be falling and vice versa. But here the question is saying that the demand for money does not depend upon the rate of interest. The demand for money does not depend. This is the demand for money. It does not depend upon the rate of interest. So what should be the shape of the LM curve, and which policy, monetary or fiscal policy, which policy will be ineffective in the country? So what should be the answer here? Anyone who can give me the right answer here? So if the demand for money is not dependent upon the rate of interest, that means demand for money is vertical. And LM, if the demand for money is vertical, the LM curve will also be vertical. So this is your LM curve, that is vertical, and this is your IS curve. So if the government expenditure is increasing or if the government expenditure is decreasing, the level of income will not change. So that means fiscal policy is ineffective. Fiscal policy is ineffective because even when the government expenditure is increasing or decreasing, fiscal policy is the policy of government. So even if government is increasing the expenditure or decreasing the expenditure, there is no change in the level of income. So fiscal policy will be ineffective when the LM curve is vertical. So in this case, LM curve is vertical and fiscal policy is ineffective. Yes, correct. Very good. So this is the idea. If the LM curve is vertical, fiscal policy is ineffective. The IS curve, wherever it is shifting, will not change the level of income. But if the monetary policy changes, monetary policy is highly effective. If the money supply is increasing, there is rightward shift. There is rightward shift in LM curve and the level of income will increase. If the money supply is decreasing, that is monetary policy or the monetary authority has decreased the money supply, the LM curve will shift leftwards and the level of income will decrease. Okay, so monetary policy, that is the change in money supply, is effective. Okay, coming to the next question, which one of the following is a non-debt creating capital receipt in government budget? So there is government budget. In this we have two, in the government budget we have revenue receipts and we have capital receipts. Okay, we have revenue receipts and we have capital receipts. Now the capital receipts are debt creating capital receipts, that is creating the debt, that is creating the loans for the government. So government is receiving the money by creating the liability, by creating the obligation. Okay, or there is the non-debt creating capital receipt, that is not creating the liability but it is decreasing the asset of the government. So government is receiving the money by decreasing its asset. Okay, so government budget includes revenue receipts and capital receipts. Capital receipt is the money that the government is receiving by increasing its liability or by decreasing its asset. So government's liability is increasing or asset is decreasing. So non-debt creating capital receipt. Capital receipt that is not debt creating, that is not creating liability. That means the capital receipt that is increasing, that is decreasing the asset. If it is not increasing liability, that means it is decreasing the asset. Okay. So here, what is the answer? B. B is not the answer. It is capital receipt. Capital receipt. Interest receipt of the government is revenue receipt because they are regular receipts of the government. Dividends. The government is receiving the profit. So profit is neither increasing the liability nor decreasing the asset. Profit is profit. So if you are getting the profit, so that is a regular payment that you get every month or every year. So these are also. So revenue receipts are regular payments. So interest receipts, dividends, they are revenue receipts, not capital receipt. Borrowing of the government. Borrowing comes under, so under the government budget, under the government receipt. Revenue receipt are the regular receipts. Capital receipts either increase liability or decrease the asset. So government is receiving the money by increasing the obligation, by increasing the liability or decreasing the asset. So they are debt creating, they are non-debt creating. Okay. So borrowing of the government is increasing the liability, is increasing the debt. So they are debt creating. But we have to find non-debt creating capital receipt. Yes. So income tax receipts are also revenue receipts. All the regular receipts, interest receipts, dividends, income receipts, they are the revenue receipts, revenue receipts, revenue receipts. So loan recovery. If the government is recovering the loan, if the government is getting back the loan, let's say government had given the loan on which government was getting the interest. Okay, now the government is getting back the loan. Government is getting back the loan or the money that the government had given. So now the government will not earn the interest rate because the borrower is returning the money to the government. So this is decreasing the asset for the government. This is non-debt creating capital receipt. Okay, so loan recovery is the right answer. Yes, very good. Sorry, correct answer. So see, the debt creating capital receipts are the loan or the loan or the borrowing of the government that is increasing the liability of the government. Non-debt capital receipts are the recovery of loan that the government is getting back. So this is decreasing the asset of the government. Okay, so that is the idea. Now the next question is, which of the following is not correct in regards to fiscal deficit? So fiscal deficit formula, I hope you know the fiscal deficit formula. So which of the following is not correct in regards to the fiscal deficit? That you have to tell me. So fiscal deficit is equal to total expenditure minus total receipts. Deficit is whenever the expenditure is greater than the receipts. So deficit is always when the expenditure is way more than the receipts of the government. So government is spending more than the receipts. Fiscal deficit is equal to total expenditure minus total receipts excluding borrowing. That is excluding the liability of the government. So total expenditure minus total receipts. Total receipts, we can write the total expenditure as capital expenditure and revenue expenditure minus total receipts, that is the revenue receipts and capital receipts. Now capital receipt excluding borrowing. So excluding borrowing means we are excluding the debt creating capital receipt. So what is left? Non-debt creating capital receipt is left. Okay, capital receipt, that is excluding borrowing. So if we are excluding the debt, that means non-debt creating capital receipt is left. So this is the formula. So total expenditure minus the revenue receipts minus the non-debt creating capital receipt. So total expenditure minus the, this is total expenditure minus the revenue receipt minus the non-debt creating capital receipt. Okay, so this is total expenditure minus revenue receipts minus non-debt creating capital receipt. Okay, next is your total expenditure minus total receipts excluding borrowing. So this is also correct. Revenue deficit. So revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt is revenue deficit. So revenue deficit plus the capital expenditure minus the non-debt creating capital receipt. So this is also correct. Fiscal deficit minus the interest payments, this is equal to, this leads to the primary deficit, not the effective revenue deficit. So this is wrong. So D statement is wrong. So we had to find the incorrect statement. So D is the answer here. Okay. So here are the formulas of the deficit. Revenue deficit is revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Fiscal deficit is total expenditure minus total receipts excluding borrowing. Primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus the interest payments. Okay. So I hope this is clear. And effective revenue deficit is defined as, effective revenue deficit is your revenue deficit minus the grants that are used for the creation of capital asset. Okay, so that is effective revenue deficit. Now coming to the next question, which of the following is not the characteristic of NBFCs? So the NBFCs is in your syllabus. Now you have to find that which of the following is not the characteristic of NBFCs. NBFCs, they cannot accept demand deposits. Absolutely correct. The NBFCs, they can only accept time deposits for the time period of what? What is the time period? The NBFCs, they can accept the time deposits for the minimum period of how many months and maximum period of how many months. You have to answer this also, that NBFCs, they cannot accept demand deposits. They can only accept the time deposits for the minimum period of 12 months and maximum period of 60 months. Okay, they need not maintain the CRR and SLR. This is actually correct. They do not have to maintain the CRR and SLR because they are not accepting the demand deposits. NBFCs can accept public deposits for minimum period of 12 months. Correct. the deposits taken by NBFCs are not secured by DICGC. So DICGC only insures the deposits up to 5 lakh in the banks. So if you are depositing your money with the NBFCs, this is not secured by DICGC. Okay. So the deposits taken by NBFCs are not secured by DICGC. NBFC, they do not form part of payment and settlement system, because the NBFCs, they cannot accept demand deposit. So if they are not accepting demand deposit, they also do not form the part of payment and settlement system. So E was the incorrect statement. All the other statements are correct. Okay. So only the E statement was wrong, as the NBFCs do not form the part of payment and settlement system. So NBFCs cannot accept the demand deposit, correct? They do not have to keep the CRR SLR. The NBFCs accept the deposits for a minimum period of 12 months, maximum period of 16 months. NBFCs, their deposits, the NBFCs deposits, they are not insured by DICGC. So DICGC or the deposit facility, insurance facility is not provided for the NBFCs. Okay. So this is the idea. Now, according to the Phillips curve, in the short run, if policymakers choose an expansionary policy, so let's say expansionary policy is adopted, so that is leading to increase in production, increase in employment, increase in income, increase in demand. Okay, so this increases the production, this increases the employment and decreases the unemployment. So if unemployment is decreasing, so what will be the other effect in the economy as per the short run Phillips curve? So as per the short run Phillips curve, what will be the effect that if the expansionary policy is decreasing the unemployment rate? Yes, the economy will experience an increase in inflation rate. Very good. So short run Phillips curve is downward sloping Phillips curve that shows that if the unemployment rate is decreasing, that means inflation rate must be increasing. So Phillips curve shows the inverse, the short run Phillips curve shows the inverse relationship between the unemployment rate and inflation rate. If unemployment rate is decreasing, inflation rate must be increasing. Okay. So B is the right answer here. Okay. So this is the idea that Phillips curve, short run Phillips curve is downward sloping. So if the unemployment rate is decreasing, so the inflation rate must be increasing. So that is the inverse relationship between unemployment rate and inflation rate. Coming to the next question, try to answer this question. Which of the following is correct if there is an unfavorable supply shock? So what is going to happen? So let's see how many of you are able to answer this question correctly. Think about it carefully, okay? Okay, see, unfavorable supply shock. That means, let's say oil prices are increasing. So transportation is becoming more expensive. So if the unfavorable supply shock is coming, so this is your aggregate demand, this is your aggregate supply, this is the price level. Here is the quantity. Okay, so demand is always downward sloping, supply is always upward sloping. Okay, this is the basic idea. Now, if the unfavorable supply shock is coming, so that means supply is decreasing. So supply suddenly at the same price, what has happened? That the supply has started to decrease. Unfavorable supply shock. So now, when the supply has decreased, so supply curve has shifted leftwards. So aggregate supply curve has shifted leftwards. Aggregate supply curve has shifted leftwards. So when the aggregate supply curve is shifting leftward, the price level is increasing and the output is decreasing. So here we had the output. Okay, so price level has increased and the output has decreased. So in the Phillips curve, what will happen? This is your price level and this is your unemployment. So price level has increased, but the output is decreasing, means production is decreasing. To produce the less quantity, less employment will be generated. That means less people are required. So unemployment will increase. Unemployment is increasing. Employment is decreasing and unemployment is increasing. I hope you are able to see this. So unemployment is increasing. If the unemployment, so price level is increasing, with that unemployment is also increasing. Price level is increasing, unemployment is also increasing. So the Phillips curve will shift rightwards. Phillips curve will shift rightwards. There will be rightward shift in Phillips curve. So this is the answer. The answer is D actually. Okay? Yes, very good. So the answer here is D. Got it? So this is the idea that unfavorable supply shock means supply curve is shifting leftwards. So the price level is increasing and the output is decreasing. With the decreasing output, the employment will decrease, unemployment will increase. So now the price level is also increasing and the unemployment is also increasing. So the Phillips curve will shift rightwards. So whenever there is unfavorable supply shock, Phillips curve will shift rightwards, and this question has come in the phase 2 of your SEBI grade A examination. So you can understand that this question is very important for NPS also, and this understanding is also very important for the NPS also. Okay? Got it? So this is the idea that if unfavorable, always remember unfavorable supply shock will shift the aggregate supply leftwards and Phillips curve rightwards. Favorable supply shock will shift aggregate supply curve rightwards and the Phillips curve will shift leftwards then. Okay, so this is the idea. Now let's say that aggregate demand is shifting. When there is shift in aggregate demand, let's say aggregate demand is decreasing. With the decreasing aggregate demand, at the same price the aggregate demand has decreased. So with that, if the aggregate demand is decreasing, so with that price level is decreasing and the output is decreasing. With decreasing output, there will be less employment and more unemployment. So price level is decreasing and unemployment is increasing. So that will cause movement. So because of shift in aggregate supply, when the aggregate supply curve is shifting, Phillips curve, because of shift in aggregate supply, the Phillips curve will also shift. But with the shift in aggregate demand, there will be movement in the Phillips curve. There will be movement in the Phillips curve. So you can see that as aggregate demand curve is decreasing, or as aggregate demand is decreasing, there is downward movement in the Phillips curve. If aggregate demand is increasing, price level will increase and the unemployment will decrease. So there will be upward movement in Phillips curve. Okay. So when aggregate supply curve is shifting leftwards, Phillips curve will shift right. If aggregate supply curve is shifting right, Phillips curve will shift left. If aggregate demand is shifting left, the Phillips curve will move. There will be downward movement. If aggregate demand shift right, the Phillips curve will move upward. Okay? Yes. So I hope this is very much clear, and keep this in mind. Write it down somewhere so that you remember it, because in the SEBI such a question has been asked. So in NPS also such a question can be asked. Okay. Now current inflows in the current account includes which of the following? So I hope you know that the balance of payment has two major accounts: capital account and the current account. Okay. In the capital account, there is the investment, there is the borrowing, and there is the assistance, external borrowing, external assistance, that is included. In the current account, we have the trade in goods, that is also known as visible trade or balance of trade. There is trade in services, and there is transfer payments. Okay, trade in services and transfer payments together are known as invisible trade. Okay, so this is the idea. Now, which of the following comes under current account? Trade in goods, trade in services, and invisible trade. So which of the following? Yes. So see, foreign direct investment comes under capital account. Foreign portfolio investment, that is investment, comes under capital account. Commercial borrowings come under capital account. Non-resident deposits, if the foreigners are depositing in India, you can understand that that is a liability that we have to return, because if deposits are happening in the Indian banks, so the deposits can be taken back. So that is a liability that we have to return. So all the liability and the asset, it comes under capital account. So external borrowings or the liability comes under this category of the external borrowing. Okay, so non-resident deposits that are coming in the country, we will have to return it. So that is a liability that we will have to return. So this is also a part of external borrowings or the capital account category. So remittances, transfer payment includes remittances, because this you do not have to return. If your mother or if your father or if your siblings are sending money from abroad, so that you can keep, you will not have the liability to return it. So remittances from abroad comes under transfer payment. Interest from abroad, so trade in services, land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. So these are the services that you are providing. So for those services you can earn the wages, you can earn the interest, you can earn the profit and such. So interest is also a part of current account. Okay, so in current account you have trade in goods, trade in services, that is the factor services like land, labor, capital and entrepreneur, and the non-factor services, that is shipping you are providing, or banking facilities, insurance facilities, and transfer payment, that is the remittances, gifts, grants. Okay, so remittances are coming under transfer payment of current account. Interest from abroad, so for capital you are getting the interest, for labor you get the wages, for entrepreneurship you get the profit, for the capital you get the interest. So these are part of current account, so that's why E was the answer. Okay, so now before going further, before showing you the homework questions, let me show you that if you go to the EduTap's website, if you go to edutap.in, okay, if you go to edutap.in, you can go to the courses section, and in the courses section if you go to the NPS Grade A and Grade B courses, you can see that there are various courses that are being provided to you. Like if you want to get the test series, you can get the test series at a very hefty discount. There is flat 70% that is going on with the code NPS 70. And if you want to get the course where you get the material for the additional subjects, where you get the chapter wise test, where you get the classes notes for the additional subjects like data analytics, stats and such, so for that you can see the additional subjects course also, that is also provided to you at a hefty discount of 70%. Now if you want to buy the complete course, you want to buy the gold course, where you are getting all the concept classes like full video course of phase 1 and phase 2, for that also there is off that is going on. So you can see that there is, like in the test series you are getting chapter wise test, you are getting full length test, so these are very good for your practice of your MCQs, for your revision. Okay, so these are different courses, you can see the off that is going on, as well as you can also connect with us at hello@edutap.co.in. like if you have any query regarding the course material, that what all you will be getting, so you can also mail us at hello@edutap.co.in. Okay, so this is your capital account and this is your current account. In the capital account you include all the asset like the investment and the liability. So investment, external borrowing, external assistance, this all come under capital account. And the non-resident deposit, as you will have to return the deposits, so they also come under capital account, because this is also a liability that we have to return. Current account includes the trade in goods, trade in services and transfer payment. So factor services, non-factor services come under trade in services. Okay, now homework question was that which of the following is the correct formula for tax multiplier when the lump sum tax is increasing. So with the increase in tax, the income must be decreasing. So multiplier says, let's say investment multiplier is there. So with the increase in investment, there is income. With the increase in autonomous investment, income increases by multiplier effect. If the investment, let's say multiplier is 5, so if investment is increasing by 100 crores, the income might increase by 500 crores. Okay, so with the increase in investment, the income increases by multiplier effect. So now there is the tax, lump sum tax multiplier. Lump sum tax multiplier that has the formula that with the increase in tax, there is multiple decrease that happens in income, and that is shown by the formula minus MPC divided by MPS. Okay, so for the lump sum tax, this is the formula that if the taxes are increasing, the income will fall, and that's why the minus sign is taken to show that the income will fall. So the formula is minus MPC divided by MPS. Yes, very good. Now the second question is that if there is increase in autonomous consumption, so this is your aggregate demand, This is your aggregate supply. Okay. So if aggregate demand is consumption plus investment plus government expenditure plus net exports. Okay. So if autonomous consumption is increasing, this is the consumption function. If autonomous consumption is increasing, that means consumption will increase. That means aggregate demand will increase. With the increase in the aggregate demand, first of all, aggregate demand will shift upwards. And with the increase in aggregate demand, the level of output is also going to increase. So here the right answer was A, right? So this is it for today. And this is my last session with you all. Do tell me that how much score you have got. I'm not giving you any homework question now because from tomorrow, some other faculty is going to come with other subject, so I don't want you to get into any confusion and such. So do tell me that how much score you have got out of 10. I hope you are getting more than 8 plus marks. If you are not getting 8 plus marks, that means you have to do extra efforts in economics. Okay, so this is it. I hope you enjoyed the sessions, and if there is any confusion, I will take your queries now. So if you have any questions, any queries, you can ask. Any query? Anyone? You're most welcome, Saurish. Thank you for attending the session. So no queries, no confusions. So you can check out the course, and if you want to buy the test series because you want to practice a lot of questions that is required from the examination point of view, so you can get the test series. Okay. So I think there is no more query. So I will be ending this session, and do tell me in the comment section that how much score you have got. Okay. So thank you everyone. Thank you for joining.